Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something really pivotal, the Treaty of Versailles. And it didn't just appear out of nowhere, did it? It came after just, well, unimaginable devastation.
That's right. World War I. The numbers are staggering. Over 8 million soldiers and sailors lost.
And almost the same number of civilians, too, from fighting, starvation, disease.
Yeah, and then you have 21 million wounded on top of that. It's hard to even comprehend that scale of loss.
Exactly. And that's the backdrop, this horrific suffering for trying to build some kind of lasting peace with this treaty.
Right.
So our mission today is to sort of unpack the Treaty of Versailles. What was it? How did it actually come together? Because there were so many different aims.
Oh, definitely.
Its key terms, which were, let's face it, pretty controversial, and then the impact it had, particularly on Germany, which kind of set the stage for, well, what came next.
Yeah, absolutely. So picture this. It's January 1919, Paris Peace Conference. You've got leaders there from 32 countries, all gathered in France.
32 countries. Wow.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to rebuild Europe, how to make sure this never happens again. But really, it boiled down to the influence of the big three.
Okay, the big three. That was Lloyd George from Britain.
Yep, David Lloyd George. Then Georges Clemenceau, Prime Minister of France.
Right, Clemenceau. And President Woodrow Wilson from the U.S.
Exactly. Those three really dominated the negotiations.
So given that backdrop of just immense loss, how did they approach it? Especially France. They must have felt it so deeply.
Oh, absolutely. France had been devastated. Clemenceau's view was, well, pretty straightforward. He wanted revenge.
Revenge and compensation, I imagine?
Definitely compensation. His main goal, really, was to weaken Germany permanently. Make sure they could never, ever threaten France again. He famously said, Germany must pay.
Germany must pay. That's quite stark. And how did that sit with, say, President Wilson? His vision was quite different, wasn't it? More idealistic.
Very different. Wilson came in with his 14 points, this idea for lasting peace through international cooperation. He thought, yes, Germany should be punished, but not so harshly that it just breeds resentment and, leads to another war down the line. He was trying to prevent future conflict, not just punish the past one.
That sounds like a really tricky balance to strike, especially with France wanting retribution.
It was incredibly difficult, a real tightrope walk between those competing desires.
So after all this debate, months of it, the treaty gets signed, June 28, 1919. What was Germany's position by then? Did they have any say, or was it basically imposed on them?
It was pretty much imposed, a take it or leave it situation.
Yeah.
German public opinion was massively against the terms, but their representatives knew refusal meant invasion.
And their army was in ruins, right? Couldn't fight back.
Exactly. Totally ruined. People starving from the blockade. They had no leverage. So they signed, but under protest. They called it a diktat, an imposed peace. Hugely humiliating.
And the terms themselves, they caused so much bitterness. I've heard this mnemonic blame helps remember the main points. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, it's quite useful. So B is for blame. This is the famous war guilt clause, Article 231.
Yes, that one.
It forced Germany and its allies to take all the blame for starting the war. Not just legally, but morally. It was a massive blow.
So first you blame them entirely then. What's L land?
Exactly. L is for land. Germany lost a lot of territory. Alsace and Lorraine went back to France, obviously.
Right.
Parts went to Belgium, Denmark, the new Poland. Danzig became a free city. Some areas even had votes, plebiscites, like in East Prussia and Silesia, for people to decide who to belong to. Vital industrial areas lost.
Okay, so blame, land, A must be army, to stop them fighting again.
You got it. A is for army, severe limits. No more than 100,000 soldiers, all volunteers, no conscription.
Wow, 100,000. That's tiny compared to what they had.
Tiny. And no air force at all.
Yeah.
No submarines, Navy cut down to just 6 ships. They couldn't even make war materials.
Yeah.
Plus, the Rhineland west of the Rhine was demilitarized.
Okay, blame, land, army. M is money, I assume, the reparations.
M for money. And this was huge. 6.6 billion they were ordered to pay.
6.6 billion pounds. In 1919 money, that's astronomical. Didn't economists warn about that?
They absolutely did. John Maynard Keynes was a famous critic. He basically said it was impossible to pay and would just wreck international finance and guarantee German resentment.
So why insist on such a huge sum? Just punishment, politics.
A lot of it was politics. Especially in France and Britain, the public demanded Germany pay for the war's cost. Allied governments needed to show they were getting something back. It was about sort of perceived justice and political survival, even if the economics didn't really stack up.
Right. Okay, and the last letter, E.
E is for empire. Germany lost all its overseas colonies. They were basically handed over to the League of Nations to administer, often ending up under British or French control.
Ah, the League of Nations. That came out of this treaty too, didn't it? Meant to prevent future wars.
It did. That was a key part of Wilson's vision, this international body for negotiation instead of war.
But it had problems from the start, right? Famously, the U.S. didn't even join its own creation.
Yeah, that was a massive blow. The U.S. Senate refused to ratify the treaty, so the U.S. never joined the League.
Why was that so critical?
Well, it robbed the League of the world's, rising economic and potentially military superpower. Plus, the League didn't have its own army. It relied on members acting together, using sanctions or moral pressure.
Which often didn't happen when push came to shove later on.
Exactly. Without the U.S. and without real enforcement teeth, its credibility and effectiveness were, well, seriously undermined right from the beginning. It struggled to deal with aggression in the 1930s.
So putting it all together, the blame, the land loss, the tiny army, the crippling debt, losing the empire, the impact on Germany must have been profound.
Profound and incredibly frustrating for them. You had the humiliation, the economic hardship. It just dominated the interwar years. It created this really bitter atmosphere, fertile ground for extremist voices promising to overturn the treaty.
Yeah, you can see how that would happen.
And tragically, it really did set the stage for another conflict, didn't it? Just 20 years later.
It's quite something to think about, isn't it? How this attempt to secure peace, built on such harsh terms intended to prevent war, could actually end up sowing the seeds for World War II, an even more devastating conflict. It really makes you consider the consequences, the unforeseen ripple effects of decisions made in the aftermath of war. What does it all mean for how we understand history, These long chains of cause and effect?